Hey everyone, hope you guys are enjoying Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak and whichever platform you're choosing to play it on. And today what we're going to be checking out is another one of those brand new hazard versus non-hazard monster comparisons, as brand new attacks are added to the hazard version of monsters. And this time around we're checking Risen Shagaru Magala. A few weeks back, maybe about a week and a half ago by now, I put up the video discussing and giving a little bit of a voice to the fact that the Risen Crimson Glow Valstrax hazard version has a ridiculous amount of brand new attacks, a bunch of brand new changes and new animations added to it that make it extremely more deadly. And this time around we're going to be taking a closer look at Risen Shagaru Magala. Remember that if you are doing just the normal quest version of these Risen Elders, you're going to be able to encounter them at level 271 plus or 281 plus if you're doing anomaly investigation quests. So if you're doing the level up versions, 281. If you've already unlocked the normal versions, this will be the 9-star versions of these monsters. I believe they begin at 271. You should also be able to see that their icon is a little bit different. They have those orangey flames around their body. That means and that signifies that these are the new attack slash hazard versions of themselves. And if for whatever reason you still don't necessarily know, hazard simply means a higher difficulty. Every monster event quest that we have gotten so far that has a hazard difficulty, all these new Risen Elders with these new icons essentially have new attacks, new higher parameters, new higher resistances, a lot more health, and these new combo available combinations. Before we begin the video though, once again, huge shout out to Shincry, link in the description below, for not only their Twitter channel but also their YouTube channel as well. They originally put up the comparison videos for all of these monsters. I've been doing a lot of signal boosting, getting people to notice that these monsters are already available in the game. They are certainly a high difficulty challenge and you should be prepared as you go in to be able to engage them. So once again, huge shout out to him, since he was extremely supportive as I requested for me to be able to feature some of his content in my channel. So pretty much starting out, one of the things you're going to notice here, and pretty much all the videos that I've done already covering these new Risen monsters, on the upper left side of the screen, you're going to notice just the normal attacks of the normal Risen Elders, whatever the monsters are. We've already done the Risen Teostra, Risen Kushala Daora, Risen Chameleos, Risen Crimson Glow Valstrax, and now of course Risen Shagaru Magala. Upper left side is just the normal versions. Bottom side, hazard versions. So 271 plus, 9-star version, 281 plus if you're doing the unlockable levels version. You're going to notice that of course the attacks are a little bit longer because they're a little bit different. In the first video comparison for the first attack, we see that the hazard ultimate summons an extra pillar that rotates counterclockwise, and the final explosion does have separate explosions. So on the upper left side you should be able to see that he kind of puts those pillars up on the ground first. He begins to hover up in the air. This is his ultimate attack. Whenever he does that, your hunters will usually shout out, watch out, big attack coming, whatever it is, especially if you have voice packs. Those voice pack characters will also be shouting out a lot of things happening at the same time, so you should be paying attention to those audio cues if you're not already. You're going to notice those pillars kind of go up in the air. He swirls around a little bit, and then you begin to see the pillars in the center kind of like converge in the middle, and then a big massive explosion begins to ring out from the middle outward. You begin to see smaller little explosions happening around it, but nothing necessarily too dangerous. On the bottom side, however, you notice that he puts up the pillars. Those smaller explosions already begin to take place, and there's a darker pillar around like at the beginning central area that begins to spin counterclockwise. So it's one of those situations where if you have a wire bug or a silk bind, use it, get the hell out of the way. That center area of those pillars is chances are going to be the area that explodes instantly. So if you're running around the near areas, you're going to want to wire bug and fling yourself outside, as that big explosion is going to follow up. Those rings will converge upon you and they'll pull you in, so you don't want to do that. And at the same time, if you're around the beginning of the areas where they pillared up, they originally appeared, chances are you're going to notice some like darker spots on the ground. These are separate explosions. If you step on them, think of them like mines, so you don't want to be caught up in that middle. Moving up to the next attack, he talks about the hazard summons a small set of pillars to the sides after the wing slam. So remember, Risen Shagaru and Gore Magala, for that matter, have the front paws, left and right, but then the wings also have like clawy hands type of a thing, and they're talking about the wing slams directly from those other palms in the wings, kind of like where they break out all the way on the sides. So on the original side, on the top, you see one slam on the right, one slam on the left, and then just kind of stays there and then readjusts for a separate third one. Where on the bottom one, you're going to notice that he starts to pounce specifically with one side, whether it is right or left, and it usually sends a pillar of like fire, purple fire forward, but then it has like this V-shaped type of attack where two separate smaller pillars are kind of like conveyed on each direction, left and right, and then the forward one always goes off. So pounce right, three pillars, left, right, middle, where the paw is facing, left paw slam down, right, left, middle pillars, and then the middle row kind of going forward in a little bit longer distance, and then that big pounce that he does all the way at the end, which a much higher like AoE type of version of those same pillars going off. So you certainly want to, if you're using a shield, you want to avoid those, but at the same time, if you want to just step back, sidestep, whatever it is that you need to do, if you're not a shield wearer, back up a little bit, make sure you don't get caught up on those, because they're going to be continuous 3 separate pounces, and then he finished it off with the wing span. On the next clip, we'll get to see that Hazard has a charged claw that doubles as a wing slam follow-up. So on the upper side, you get to see him kind of do the pounce. Originally, just very quickly charges it up, pounces, and then he puts up 2 flame rows. This is something that you're going to see later in the video. 2 flame rows, they go kind of vertically, so right, left type of a thing. But then on the bottom right, you're going to notice that he charges up, which are whether it is the right paw or the left paw. He slams it down, and then you're going to notice that he charges up again, and he pounces up with both wing slams directly on the ground. He puts those flares up on the ground, and then, you need to get out of the way, because now it's just considered just AoE damage. So whether it is that you get caught up in those slams originally or you back out, there's still plenty of AoE follow-ups after those swing slam attacks, and that's something that you need to keep your eyes peeled on, especially if you're a Blade Master type. On the next set of attacks, you see that Risen Shagaru on the upper left will guarantee a pinned attack if you're not necessarily paying attention. After he does the massive roar and he kind of powers up, you begin to see like the purple flare around his body a little bit after like his mouth and stuff like that. Originally, he just starts out normally. He doesn't have that. But on the bottom side, right, you're going to see that after he powers up, the flare is also more like prominent. You can see the purple flares a little bit more powerful all around his body. And then you're going to notice that typically in the upper right side, he will like try to tackle you and instantly grab you. Where on the bottom side, he's not going to do that. He's going to change that up. So chances are he's not going to go for a grab, but instead he could pounce, he could do the wing slam, he could do the hyper beam. I've seen him do the hyper beam plenty of times, so you certainly want to keep your eyes peeled for that. So, it depends on what the AI chooses to do at that given moment. Now, the next attack is a little bit of a follow-up to that previous one. When he does grab you on the bottom, though, and he essentially grabs you, picks you up with his 2 front paws or the wing slams, and then he throws you into the ground, one of the things you're going to notice that he quickly follows that up with those 3 charged up ones, and each one of those will have their very own like flares appearing all the way into the ground, and then he'll follow that up with a hyper beam all on his own. So essentially, whomever gets grabbed, the first thing you want to do is wire bug yourself to the right, sidestep to the right, whatever, evade, Superman dive, whatever it is you need to do. If you get grabbed and you're fighting this Risen Hazard version, simply just step out of the way. Once you're finally able to get control from your character, he'll slam you into the ground. Your character gets up a little bit slowly, then just dive the hell out of the way sideways. You don't want to move back, because eventually after he does right pound, left pound, double pound with the wing slam, he's gonna do that hyper beam attack, and that hyper beam attack carries entirely of the arena, most likely where you're fighting him. So chances are you're gonna get caught up with it if you move yourself just back. So move a little bit vertically. He will try to readjust, but basically move yourself a little bit out of the way. Now, in the next set of clips, what we do get to see is that rotating breath attack that we spoke about earlier after those slams, the third one with the double wing slam on the bottom. Originally, the normal version, if you look at it from the camera up above, he only has 2 of those kind of like going sideways. You see them going like a V shape, from his paws, his wing slams all the way to the sides. The Risen Hazard version will have 3 versions of those flares going up, and they're just going to converge from the starting point all the way outwards. So essentially you just back up, or what most players will end up doing. This is something that I do as a gunner. If you have looked at any of my gameplay already from Risen Shigaru, is that I basically just get in between both of those flares going up on the side. It gives me enough time to kind of reload, readjust. Doesn't give me enough time to drink a potion or anything like that if you do get hit, but it gives me the time to readjust, move my camera around, and then instantly slam away and start hitting it as best as I can. That's what is the approach that I've taken. I assume most players will either sidestep completely out of the way or try to position themselves. Since you know there's 3 waves coming at you, just get in between those 2 waves, or 2 or 3 or 1 and 2, somewhere in between that gap, and you should be safe to go. Moving on to the next attack, you're going to notice that the Hazard Wing Slams adds an extra double wing slam without the low HP requirements. So essentially on the upper left side, what you're going to notice is that he slams right, he slams left, and then he does the powered up version of that slam. Usually he does that only when his HP is low. However, the Risen version doesn't need those requirements. So he'll slam once, he'll slam again, the 3rd slam will come, and then the 4th slam is those wing slams coming directly down and downward, and each one of those has their own subsequent flames, kind of like the previous attack that we talked about. So you need to step out of the way because those AoEs are coming, and at the same time, they're going to be pretty dastardly if you don't consider them that there's going to be 4 attacks following up to you back to back to back. Next, you're going to notice in the next follow-up attacks that the hip check kind of attacks and the wing slams are a little bit faster in the Hazard version, but also there's follow-up explosions coming along. So these are those trap mines that I've spoken about before. If you walk over them, they will blow up, but if you don't walk over them and just kind of let them linger, they will blow up on their own. And they do have a little bit of like a distance thing. I don't know if it's a bug or if it's just meant to be that way, but I stood on the right side of those explosions before, and I've gotten caught up in them, and my character is not standing in the purple at all. I'm just standing close enough to it. Again, just sidestep a little bit out of the way because you see them coming, and then I've been caught up before. Now, they won't take your entirety of your health or anything like that. They'll probably take 40 to 50% of your health. But again, if you get comboed right after that, you're going to be in a real, pretty much in a carding situation. So you want to avoid that as best as possible. Now, in the next set of clips, what we get to begin to see is that these are just new attacks for the Hazard versions. The normal version doesn't necessarily have these combos, and essentially is the fake outs. Like I spoke about before, usually he'll does the right pound, left pound, then right pound, and then he'll double wing slam directly down to the floor with all of those explosions around. That's a bread and butter combo for it. But this time around, you're going to actually notice that the Hazard will fake a double wing slam explosion with low health. So that gives it the opportunity to do another powered up combo soon after that. And you see it do that back to back to back, especially once it gets into the blue territory when it's ready to be killed. You're going to notice that it will do that continuously. This also begins to get done whenever the wing slam combo is followed up. So I'm going to leave these 2 clips back to back so you can see them as like it's the same attack. He still does the double wing slam combo, but in one of them he just kind of steps back and then restarts the combo again, where in the other one he just kind of like finishes and then instantly rotates back to the beginning of it and he double wing slams again. So there is a little bit of a reset there where he just kind of chooses whenever he wants to do that. And it really, I assume it depends on the proximity of the hunter being close to the monster itself, and that's when it chooses to engage with those type of combos. Again, it's the AI doing this very own thing, but that is the crazy thing about these Risen Elders. They can do things that the other ones can't. I remember specifically talking about Risen Crimson Glow Valstrax and that sidestep that it does in order to like do the powered up, charged up, like direct dive, and then the pounds that he does. That thing just looks extremely menacing, and the Hazard version of itself is just extremely powerful that you just don't necessarily know where that change combo comes in. And these are 2 Shagaru's versions where he just fakes the combos, but then you expect him to do 4 follow-up attacks after that, but then instead the 3rd one gets faked out and then he begins that combo again. So you get 2 attacks, fake combo, and then he simply shifts right into those 4 attacks right out of the gate. So he ends up doing 6 pounces right in front of you, which is really interesting at the end of the day. But once again, huge shout out to Shincry. Link in the description below for the YouTube channel, for their Twitter account. Give them plenty of love, man. This guy's doing amazing work. I was able to reach out, speak to him, get permission to be able to show these videos, and once again, signal boosting some of the amazing work that he's doing with some other players. If you're brand new to my channel though, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.